Alright everyone, well, welcome back, and, well, now that you saw my best movies and video games list of 2022, here's the list of the top 10 movies that I think are the most underappreciated, the underdog films of 2022, the most underrated films in my opinion, that I think are the most underrated of 2022. So, just my opinion, folks. As I said before, I'm sure many people agree or disagree, but anyway, here we go. Number 10, Barbarian. Yes, a horror film that kind of flew under the radar a bit. Yeah, not many people have seen this, and I didn't see it in theaters. I actually watched it on HBO Max, not knowing what the premise was, and if you go in with an open mind, you kind of enjoy it. It starts out slow, but with some pretty interesting characters and an interesting concept. Yeah, some girl shows up to a rented house that some other guy's already staying in, some mixed up confusion, and they disappear. Okay, it's an interesting concept, and it kind of keeps you wondering, and despite rather slow paced at some parts, it is a good mystery thriller that leads to a rather, well, suspenseful and occasionally scary concept, because, yeah, it's a horror film. It keeps you guessing on what you're going to expect, the typical basement of a house cliche that you've never seen before. It really kept me on edge, especially when they go downstairs and it's further on and they discover this cave and everything like that. So, yeah, it was really fascinating. Not for everybody, but give it a watch if you have HBO Max. You may be surprised. You may like it or may not. That's up to you. Give it a watch. Number 9, Ambulance. Yeah, a Michael Bay movie. I know, he's pretty much a human punching bag when it comes to directing movies. He destroyed Transformers, he destroyed Ninja Turtles, even though he only produced those films. I get it. But not all of his movies suck. I mean, 13 Hours was pretty good. And this one I thought was pretty underrated too. I didn't really think I was going to enjoy it. I watched it on Amazon Prime to be exact. Kind of a shame this one bombed at the box office. But then again, I'm not surprised because as soon as you see the name Michael Bay, you're quick to avoid it. Over-the-top special effects. One-dimensional characters with pretty shitty dialogue. The typical stuff. But this one, for a rather seemingly generic name and concept, it was actually pretty entertaining for a 2-hour plus runtime. They use an ambulance and take on a heist. Again, seems rather generic, but it was actually really entertaining. The action sequences are filmed very well, and with Jake Gyllenhaal, well, he actually did a pretty decent performance. So for a Michael Bay movie, give this one a watch, especially if you have Amazon Prime. It's on there. So you may like it or you may not, but all I could say is for a Michael Bay movie, this one is far from his worst. Number 8, Thor Love and Thunder. Okay, many people have either liked or dissed this movie. I get it. It's silly. It's got some annoying parts in it, like, of course, with the screaming goats. I like the whole, mixture with the Guardians of the Galaxy at the beginning, but then after the beginning, you don't see them again. Come on. It's supposed to be about Thor, and it's supposed to be, of course, about Jane, who is, of course, dying from cancer and becomes the next Thor, or female Thor, whatever the hell you call her. That's what the film focuses on, and it's pretty good. And, okay, I get it. There are some woke moments that, yes, this movie's made by Disney because they bought out Marvel. There's a lot of silly moments, like when he goes to see Zeus, and some may complain it wasn't taken seriously enough. But hey, Christian Bale's performance as the main villain was pretty good, and as a villain himself, he was actually pretty well designed and very believable, and you actually kind of feel sympathy for him because, of his daughter and everything like that. And when the action's there, it's really good. I thought all the kids did a really good job, and I was very entertained by this one. So for a Marvel movie, fine. It's not the best. It's not the best Thor movie. At least it was more entertaining than Thor the Dark World. I mean, compared to that one with the main villain and, of course, the Dark World itself, which was incredibly dull, this one at least looked better, the action and everything. Come on, people. Give it another chance. It may not be the best one in the MCU, and many complain that the MCU is kind of falling apart, but it deserves a watch. At least one if you have Disney Plus especially. Number 7, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry I didn't get reviews on these Marvel movies. I've been very behind on a lot of this stuff. I've had a pretty busy schedule last year, to be exact, and yeah, I wanted to love this movie, and after seeing it in theaters, which I did, and then I watched it on Disney Plus after dissing it for a little while, I watched WandaVision. It's a series that many people will either understand and many people won't. I get it. And that's what you have to watch before seeing this to understand the concept. I get it. It's not fully about Doctor Strange. It's more about, the Scarlet Witch character, and that's what it focuses on more. There's a lot of weird moments. There's a lot of things, especially when they go into the multiverse and everything like that. There's some slow parts. But once you get to the good parts, and once you understand everything after watching the whole miniseries, which I will admit on Disney Plus are not all that great. But WandaVision is one of the best ones, aside from Falcon and Winter Soldier and Hawkeye. But watch WandaVision all the way through, and you'll understand everything that's going on in this, mostly, and you'll kind of get into it. It is more of a Sam Raimi movie because, of course, he's the director, and especially seeing Evil Dead and Drag Me to Hell, it definitely has his trademark. I mean, this was pushing a hard PG-13 with all the horrifying looking elements and everything like that, and special effects and the dream walking and everything like that. Yeah, it's not a typical Marvel movie that you come to expect. And, of course, Benedict Cumberbatch's performance as Doctor Strange is still just as great as ever. So, again, it may not be for everybody, but it deserves a chance. That's why I consider it underappreciated, and that's why I gave it a second chance. Do it, people. It's not the worst one. Number 6, A Man Called Otto. Okay, I did not really know that this was a remake, and after seeing the trailers, I was really fascinated with wanting to see this, and in case you're wondering, yes, this technically was a 2022 film, released at the very end, basically. Limited theater showings, and I got a chance to see this one, and I can safely say without hesitation, it's an American remake of a foreign film based on a book. And Tom Hanks, come on, you can't argue, there's no performance that he cannot play. I mean, he could play a foreign guy at an airport, he can play just about anything, and with this performance, no exception, playing a grouchy neighbor who pretty much wants no part of anyone, and you know what, you kind of laugh, and then you kind of feel for him. It's understandable. He eventually comes into terms and makes friends with new neighbors. Typical stuff that you see out of this kind of movie. And we've seen this kind of concept before. He's going to really come through. And, well, in his backstory and everything, which you could complain, the backstory and, of course, all the flashback sequences are revealed throughout the movie. But it's very entertaining and interesting at the same time. It keeps you wondering why he acts like this, and well, there you go. Just watch the movie and you'll see for yourself. It's a very good performance and, well, kind of sad too at the same time. So, any of you who are hearing rather mixed reception and should not watch this, watch the original, which I actually haven't watched. Give this one a shot. For Hanks' performance, it's well worth it. Number 5, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Yes, this one I actually did do a review on last year, and, well, just go check it out, and you'll see for yourself why this one is very underrated. If you enjoyed the first one, which I think was very good despite, well, rather low expectations that me and anybody else had even after the redesigning of Sonic's face, which of course was made fun of in the Chippendale Rescue Ranger movie, but not to get too off topic. Yes, if you like that one, you'll enjoy the hell out of this one for sure. This is a sequel that pretty much takes the necessary speed jump forward and brings in new characters that you were hinted in the last movie with Tails, and as well as Knuckles, and of course Dr. Robotnik comes back full force back to planet Earth to take on the Hedgehog with the Chaos Emerald. Lots of video game references from the games themselves. I mean, I ain't got much to say, even as references to other films non-Sonic related, and, well, it's just a good fun time, even though it's longer than the first. Doesn't make a difference. It's silly, it's goofy, it may not be for everybody, but all I could say is, critics, you got this all wrong. Us Sonic fans and even non-Sonic fans will enjoy the hell out of this one. Jim Carrey is just as much fun to watch, and, well, from what I've heard, this is going to be his last time acting. Good for him. He did a great job with this one. He had a lot of fun, and of course this ain't going to be the last one. So, give it a go. For a video game movie, it's well worth it. Number 4, Uncharted. Yes, from one video game-based movie to another, this one is based off the action-adventure franchise from PlayStation consoles only, obviously. And many have complained about this one, and others have enjoyed it. That's easy to understand. I get it. it's not perfect. It's far-fetched. It has some stupid moments. Just go check out my review for this one. Yes, I reviewed this one last year as well. And I enjoyed it. Some of the direction and everything may be a little off. I mean, you got the falling out of the airplane sequence, which is a bit over the top and ridiculous. You got, of course, one of the main side characters who fights them, then joins them, then turns against them. Okay, fine. Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, we've seen them in plenty of great movies. You may complain they're too much like themselves, but what do you expect? I think they did a pretty decent job. The action's really fun, and it's just a good, really fun time, which really just kept me entertained for 2 hours. So, I ain't got much to say. Don't judge this one before watching it. Watch it at least once. You may like it, or you may not. All I know is, I enjoyed it, and that's why I consider it underappreciated. Number 3. Armageddon time. Yeah, this one had a rather quiet release, and not many people I knew saw this in theaters because it didn't play many places. In fact, it didn't play for very long either. And, well, after seeing the trailer, what caught my attention to me was Anthony Hopkins playing the grandfather. Because you could always expect a great performance out of him in any movie, most of the time at least, and with this film it's no exception, as well as the one who plays his grandson, part of a rather wealthy family living in Queens during the early 80s, and that's who the film focuses on mostly. You know, goes to a regular public school, befriends a black kid who was left back a grade, deals with racism, and of course he gets himself into trouble. The type of coming-of-age story, which is very well engaging. I mean, I found myself very entertained by this movie, and I was interested to see what was going to happen next, and yeah, it was very entertaining. The family was fascinating. You had great performances also by the one who plays the father. Of course, Anne Hathaway plays the mother. And it definitely has a great nostalgic mid-feel to it. I like the relationship he has with his grandfather. I mean, he was just a very likable character. Has a great mix of drama, a little bit of comedy, and, well, give it a watch. If you can ever find a copy of this one, it is out on Blu-ray, so give it a watch, stream it, do whatever. All I could say is, this one does exist, and it's actually very well entertaining and underappreciated for the most part, considering, like I said, not many people watched it. Number 2, Father Stu. Yeah, this one I think most people know about compared to the last one on this list. And yeah, I was surprised to hear mixed to mostly negative reception from professional critics, as opposed to theater goers who actually gave this one more praise, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, why would it be on this list if I didn't give it enough praise? Because, well, it stars Mark Wahlberg. You can always expect a great performance out of him for the most part, as well as Mel Gibson, who plays his father. Not the first time, obviously, in any movie. And yeah, I do find it funny, and not really a coincidence that he stars in this movie and directed Passion of Christ, a rather controversial movie with all the controversy that he got himself into. I'm not going to get into that. But anyway, yeah, Mark Wahlberg's performance is excellent. A former boxer, gone jailbird, and then gone father priest, who deals with, of course, health issues later on in life. And yes, this is based on a true story. I'm not sure how accurate it is. I'm sure there are a lot of differences from the real story, considering it's a Hollywood adaptation. But yeah, the performances and everything was very interesting. I mean, Mark Wahlberg, Mel Gibson, not much to say. I mean, they did a fantastic job. And for a 2-hour plus runtime, there may be some slow parts, but come on, give it a chance. This one will definitely keep you interested for the most part, mainly for performances. So, there ain't much to say. You'll either like it, or you won't. All I could say is, critics are definitely wrong on this one. That's for sure. And the number 1 movie that I think is the most underrated of 2022, Black Adam. Yeah, I know DC comic movies have been very hit and miss the past couple years, and with this one, I was surprised to hear mixed to rather negative reception from professional critics, and I went to see it in theaters, and all I gotta say is, were critics watching the right movie? Okay, it's not flawless, it's not an Oscar winner for Best Picture, but come on, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as anti-superhero, whatever the hell you call him, with the same exact powers as Shazam. I'm not sure if there's going to be a crossover between these two characters. That would be great, but yeah, you got plenty of backstory behind this character, with especially at the beginning, It may start out a little slow once it gets into the present day, but even the main human characters, especially the kid, the mother, and of course her brother, are very interesting and fascinating. Living in the Middle East, which is kind of a first time for any comic book movie taking place there as the main setting. And of course they throw in, other side superheroes that try to stop Black Adam once he gets freed. May seem a little distracting, but it's very entertaining. I mean, the characters are kind of silly. I like Pierce Brosnan's character. I thought he was the coolest. But the action, once it gets good and, Black Adam is set loose, it's really awesome. He really packs a punch. And of course, yeah, the main villain, you may argue, is a bit bland and cliche. We kind of seen this idea done before with trying to bring hell to earth and all this crap, but come on. The whole movie is about Black Adam. That's what you come to see. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson nails the performance very well, and I'm interested to see more about this character in the future DCU movies. I'm not sure what the fate is with new directors and everything like that, but all I could say is with this movie, if you have it on Blu-ray, which it's out now, or you have HBO Max, watch it, stream it, give it a chance. Very underrated movie, and that's why I consider it the most underrated movie of 2022, and probably one of the better DC comic movies, especially after the disappointing Wonder Woman 1984. Better than that movie by a mile. So that's my list of the most underrated movies of 2022, at least in my opinion. Till next time, keep watching.